Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:06 right now, and it's Friday, April 18th, as we plow through the end of the week news cycle, launching you into the weekend, hopefully with a smile on your face. It's going to be beautiful this Easter holiday. Coming up at 7:05, Chris Ruddy, CEO of Newsmax, 7:35, Byron York of Examiner, 8:05, Raymond Royo of EWTN, and then 8:35, singer-songwriter superstar John Andrasik. It's Larry O'Connor. And, well, Emily Domenech always puts a smile on my face because she's delightful. And again, I want to point out, since it's radio, a ginger, red hair, freckles, the whole package.
I do like to say that I am technically a, quote, day walker, as the South Park folks say, which means that I am a ginger who can get a tan.
Noted, and thank you for that. In the news, and yes, we will have some more follow-up on the there's no other way to describe it, romantic rendezvous between Senator Chris Van Hollen and Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Romantic getaway in the tropical paradise.
Beautiful El Salvador. Again, more investigation into these knuckle tattoos. The picture that they released shows these very distinctive tattoos on his left hand, right by his knuckles. Some people are speculating as to what the index finger is. Definitely a marijuana leaf, which begins. That's the letter M. Then the next knuckle over has a serpent on it. That would be a snake. That would be S. The third knuckle has it looks like a pillar, maybe a cross, which looks like a 1. And then the last number has a skull on it. But if you look at the skull, the curvature of the one side looks like it's a 3 that has been looped around.
This is like something out of a TV show. You got to be kidding me.
I just hope Chris Van Hollen had some security with him down there as he was meeting with this guy. So we'll get into all of that as the morning develops. What a hill to die on. Meanwhile, yesterday in Virginia, your Attorney General, you a big fan of your Attorney General there, Jason Miyares?
Oh, yeah. He's great.
He's
fantastic.
A good guy, right? Yeah. Running for re-election, of course, this year. He took Google to court. And a Virginia judge just sided with the Commonwealth of Virginia and with businesses everywhere in the American people. This would be Judge Leonie Brinkema, U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia, determined that Google acted illegally to maintain a monopoly in some online advertising technology. This, by the way, adds to legal troubles that could reshape the $1.86 trillion company and alter its power over the internet. That's according to the New York Times write-up. This is a very big deal. You might not hear a whole lot of reporting, but the bottom line is if you do commerce on the internet, Google is a big part of your advertising strategy and your marketing strategy. And yes, of course, they have acted in a monopolistic way. They do have a monopoly over that. Now, some would argue, from a free market perspective, that, hey, guess what? Google invented this. They dominate the search engine world, and for a while there was no advertising. Everyone was skeptical about whether Google could actually make a profitable business out of a search engine. They figured out a way, and a big part of that business strategy was advertising. The problem is that because they were the only game in town and because they became the 800-pound gorilla, they basically utilized that monopoly to put pressure on a lot of other businesses. And this judge found that it was illegal what they did. Another federal judge ruled in August that the company had a monopoly in online searches as well. So, the court decisions continue to mount up against Google and look for some major changes in how they go to market and maybe even a breakup over there, breaking up a lot of their business ventures, which we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of the argument you see from somebody like from the Virginia Attorney General's office, for example, is, this is we deserve a free market. We need to make sure that we don't have some big tech overlord from Silicon Valley who gets to censor what we see and what we say. And I think that's really part of why some of these big tech folks have gotten in the crosshairs of conservatives, because of the actions they took to censor them.
Yeah. So what happens here is, and again, it's text, so sometimes it's hard to comprehend. But they specifically have this ad server and ad exchange market. All right. And the Justice Department and 17 other states all argued that their practices harmed competition because Google right now, this ad tech business, by the way, is 12% of the revenue for the company. It's a big deal. And what they do is they do what Google always does, frankly. And in fact, let me set it aside for a minute because advertising, this is great and I love it. And it's a way to get them over their monopolistic practices. My bigger concern is that they put the thumb on the scale for just basic web searches. Forget about the advertisers.
Right.
They've already admitted that they mess with results based on political reasons, based on favoring some websites over other websites. People think when they go to Google, they're just getting the best results. No, they're getting the desired results, those results that are desired by the people who run Google. It's not actually, just a random or weighted sort of result that you think, oh, this must be the top site I'm looking for. No. It's the site that Google wants you to look for based on the question you asked.
Right. And I think this is the it's the pros and cons of having some of this incredible technology available to us, right? It is still run by a private company with the ability to do and say a lot of things that they have the freedom to do on their own platform. But, none of us are leaving Google to go use Bing or some other sort of low rent search function. Are you a Bing user?
I use Bing.
Are you 800 years old, Larry? Come on.
I really do use Bing. You know why?
No way.
I use Bing. So you don't know this about me, Emily, and I don't speak about it much, but I'm kind of a points hoarder. I love getting miles and points, my American Airlines miles, my Marriott Bonvoy points. And I found out that Microsoft will give you rewards and points for your searches. It's like I search all the time.
Get out of here.
And Google ain't giving me anything for my searches. So if I use Bing, I get all these points. And then I use those points to get my Xbox subscription so I can do all my gaming for free. So
honestly, that's pretty solid. A point system is a big motivator. Americans like getting free stuff.
That's it.
It's very American, deeply American.
I have not found the results to be much different with Bing than with Google. Although I'll tell you honestly, lately I use AI engines for searches. They're much better.
A lot of people use those now.
Oh, Grok Search on X is very good. And ChatGPT is pretty good search engine too. So
it's funny. I use those to make funny memes for my friends, and that's about it. I don't use them for research or anything. I know they have many, many wonderful purposes, but I'm old school. I like to do my own homework.
Yeah, great. It's a great research tool. Head and shoulders above Google, actually. If you're researching a topic or an article or a column or anything, it really did. It helped me for researching my book that I just wrote. It's a
fantastic.
huge deal. Way better than Google. So Google, listen, I know it seems weird, but in many respects, searching on Google and the advertising revenue that they made off of searching, I know it's only, 15, 20 years old. It's basically sort of in the rearview mirror now, and this latest federal court ruling could just be the final nail in the coffin in Google's dominance over this realm. I'll still use their email, though, sadly. It's just, I'm stuck.
It's
stuck.
Yeah, you can't change it. When you've had the same email for long enough, you got to keep it.
It is 6:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
All right, clearly, Democrats are trying to position themselves for 2028. You had George Clooney yesterday saying that Wes Moore, governor of Maryland, is elevating himself over the rest of the crowd. You had Cory Booker speaking for 24 straight hours in the Senate about nothing and accomplishing nothing. And then you've got Chris Van Hollen going to El Salvador to have a margarita with a gangbanger. So, the cream is rising to the crop here, Emily. But the Democrats are really, I think, they're going to fall back into their own habits, their own patterns. And I got a hunch that Bernie Sanders, if he's not the guy, he's going to be the kingmaker. Whoever Bernie decides is going to be the guy,
I mean, obviously, they need to have a very old white guy pick the next future of the Democratic Party, because that's what's so important to them. You know, I mean, like it is like it's like an episode of Veep every day. I can't believe it.
Well, Bernie, of course, has been on his Fight the Oligarchy tour with AOC. And we played this audio for you the other day. Maze Moore, which is a great video curator account on the X platform, put together a montage of Bernie. This goes back to the early 90s when he was still in the House of Representatives. Take a listen to Bernie. Boy, you got to hand it to him. Since Clinton was in the White House, the man has been on message, and it is the same message.
This great country of ours is moving very rapidly in the direction of oligarchy. The United States of America today is increasingly becoming an oligarchy. More and more moving toward an oligarchy. We are moving in the direction of oligarchy. We will move even more rapidly.
You get the picture. This goes on for over a minute, and these clips, like I said, they date from the early 90s all the way through till today, and it's the same thing. Rapidly moving toward oligarchy, rapidly moving toward oligarchy.
You'd think if we were rapidly moving towards it, we would have gotten there by now, but I guess
not. Thank you. Here in Cut 6, you'll hear the latest on the hit parade from Bernie Sanders, but he's added a little bit in there about oligarchy and a terrifying little message at the end. Here, listen.
If we stand together, we can defeat Trumpism, we can defeat authoritarianism, we can defeat oligarchy, we can create a new nation.
Yeah, that last part always gives me the shivers. Create a new nation. It's amazing how people who want to run for president of the United States, once they get into office, they promise to, change the United States. Like, I want to be the president of this country so I can create a new country. That's a little disturbing, and, well, that's what communists do, I guess. Anyway, here's the latest, Emily, on the Fight Oligarchy tour that Bernie Sanders is on. Apparently, fighting oligarchy pays really, really well, because the Washington Free Beacon has done a deep dive into the travel patterns of the communist senator from Vermont. And during the last month, he has chartered private jets at the cost of $221,000, all in the name of fighting the oligarchy.
Well, and don't forget that these are the same folks who want to tell you that you shouldn't be able to drive a car and you shouldn't be able to turn the lights on when you want because you need to be concerned about your emissions. But they don't seem to have any problem with the emissions created by their private jets.
No, not even close. 220. Can I just? I'm going to say it. I know it sounds like I'm, a little peon, a little. I know you're supposed to go on the radio and brag about your high flying lifestyle and everything. I have never once been on a private jet, not once in my entire life. Nor, by the way, do I really desire it.
I don't think most people have been on a private jet. And I think, obviously, like, part of politicking is flying around the country. But, like, I think kind of the same thing about Senator Sanders as I do about Senator Van Hollen, which is like, why aren't you in Vermont? Why aren't you in Washington doing your job? You're supposed to be here voting on things and participating in the process you were elected to participate in, not giving speeches all around the country.
That's a great point. They keep saying that we have this existential threat right now with Trump in the White House. And I think someone should do something about it. He's literally a U.S. senator. Why? Go to the floor of the Senate if you really believe that. Propose something. Make a speech. Persuade. No. He's traveling the country, flying private, $221,000. It's paid for, by the way, by Friends of Bernie Sanders. Not literally his friends. I mean, that's the name of the organization. It manages the Fighting Oligarchy tour. They've got 3 different firms for the private travel. They've also spent an additional $64,000 on commercial airline tickets, $41,000 on lodging, and then $248,000 on what they call event production, which I'm guessing is lighting and staging and security and all that jazz. I mean, like I said, there's big money in fighting the oligarchy. There's big money in fighting capitalism.
Exactly. It's a wildly capitalist endeavor to fight capitalism, apparently.
Teslin Figaro, former campaign advisor to Bernie Sanders, is now calling out the Democrats and targeting Bernie specifically for going after white liberals. As you just mentioned, we need an old white guy to pick the next candidate who will be either Chris Van Hollen or Gavin Newsom, pretty white guys. Well, Teslin Figaro says Bernie Sanders' demographic, and I'm just going to be honest, the progressive demographic, the Rainbow Coalition, is white liberals, pretty much, white progressives. He said this, or she said this, excuse me. All right, is it a he? I don't know what's a Teslin? Is a Teslin a boy or is a Teslin a girl?
I think it's a male, but I'm actually not quite sure. Oh, nope, it says she said.
There you go. She said this on the Breakfast Club to host Charlemagne the God, which, by the way, good time to remind you, Emily, that you are supposed to refer to me as Larry the God.
Oh, boy.
I'm taking that on for that's how you get ahead in the morning shows.
Copy that.
He's talking to a very progressive white-run movement. Even if you're Hispanic, it's still white adjacent. That's referring to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
The white adjacent is wild to say about a Hispanic person.
A white adjacent Hispanic. I do love that. Anyway,
Yikes.
So there's some fractures in Bernieville over the money, over the fact that he's white, over the fact that AOC isn't brown enough. I don't know. But
I did appreciate that this former staffer gave him a knock for going to Coachella, which is pretty funny because I can't imagine anything that fits in less at Coachella than a super old white dude from Vermont.
Yes. At $1,500 a ticket, by the way, because fight the
course.
power.
Yeah.
It is 624. All right, coming up, Prime Minister Meloni visited President Trump at the White House, and it was a bit of a love fest. They call her the Trump Whisperer. Well, what did she whisper? We'll try to figure it out. Coming up next.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
A good Friday to you on this Good Friday. Thank you for tuning in to O'Connor and Company at 6:36, and we got a lot to get done here this Good Friday morning. Coming up at 7:05, Chris Ruddy is the CEO of Newsmax. 7:35, Byron York is the chief political correspondent for The Examiner. 8:05, Raymond Arroyo is the managing editor of EWTN. And 8:35, John Andrasik is just a stud. Singer-songwriter, 5 for Fighting. You know the song Superman, don't you, Emily? That's
Oh, yeah.
Classic 2000s, 90s, 99, I think, maybe 2001. I don't know. It's celebrating like its 25th anniversary, that song, and he's just re-released it. I know, we're old.
I was going to say that I was in high school when that song came
re-released
out.
it.
It made me feel old.
Well, it's John does great things. He loves this country. He loves our troops, and his heart has been breaking over the entertainment industry's lack of acknowledgement of the horrors of October 7th. He's re-released Superman to acknowledge the hostages that are still being held. John's going to join us at 8:35. That said, let's get to our friends over in Italy, shall we? Because Prime Minister Meloni of Italy settled all family business yesterday in the White House. She came in and put a bullet in the IMO green. And no, she didn't do anything like that. Do you think the Italians like the mafia jokes about them, or do you think that it bothers them?
I hope they like it because I think, you want to be a kind of baddie. It's cool, right?
Right, exactly.
It's culturally cool.
I'm Irish, and all I ever get is, "Oh, you guys drink a lot." And it's like, well, okay, that's true, but let's not dwell on it.
Exactly,
but if you're Italian,
I'm
it's
Irish and Hispanic. It's just hot tempers and drinking,
All right. Well, now you're talking. All right. So, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who's pretty based. I mean, she addressed CPAC this last February. She arrived here and sort of dispelled all of the media narrative that Europe hates Trump. We really should. I understand the EU made a lot of sense for them. They like the common currency. They like being able to travel country to country without their passports. But to suggest that all of Europe thinks with one mind is just defies any understanding of world history. All of Europe has never thought with one mind. It's why we've had a couple of world wars. And so Giorgia Meloni came to the United States yesterday and separated herself from the media narrative and conventional wisdom about the EU. Here's cut 9, the Prime Minister in the Oval Office.
But at the end of the day, look, somebody calls me, I was saying it before, such a Western nationalism. I don't know if it is the right word, but I know that when I speak about West, mainly I don't speak about a geographical space. I speak about a civilization. And I want to make that civilization stronger. So I think even if we have some problems, okay, between the two shores of the Atlantic, it is the time that we try to sit down and find solutions. So I want to thank President Trump for having accepted an invitation to pay an official visit to Rome in the near future and consider possibility in that occasion to meet also with Europe. The goal for me is to make the West great again. Okay? And I think we can do it together.
We can.
Make the West great again. And I just find it fascinating. She says, when I speak of the West, I don't speak of a geographical space. I speak about civilization, Western civilization. She's very much a classicist. She recognizes the importance of Western civilization. Her country facing a lot of the same issues that America has faced with regard to illegal immigrants, people coming from foreign nations, and not only screwing up the economic and employment makeup of her nation, but also the cultural makeup of her nation. And she emphasizes that, Emily, publicly on a regular basis. And I don't know, what do you think of this potential alliance between Italy and America?
You know, I hope we see a whole series of, European and other world leaders coming to meet with President Trump to make more of these alliances. I think that's the goal of the president's trade policy, is to make trade deals with more partners that are freer and fairer, sort of around the world. I also one of the things that the United States does so well is we actually are much better at assimilating populations than Europe is. We have a much more diverse population. So it's what it means to be an American is something that is sort of part of that melting pot, mentality. In Europe, it really doesn't work that way. They are very culturally separate, and it's part of why you see far more sort of tension between their immigrant populations. And we see it here in the United States when we don't sort of get that melting pot effect. But it's sort of a different situation for Europe, and it's part of why I think you see some of these leaders coming out saying we want to be Western countries with Western values that align with Western valued countries around the world.
Right, where we have quite a bit in common. So Meloni and Trump, that was in the Oval Office. Then they and did meet in sort of like a conference room setting. I think it's the cabinet room. And they talked specifically about tariffs. I mean, it looked like they were negotiating tariffs, but Meloni can't really negotiate Italian tariffs individually with the U.S. because she's part of the EU. So maybe she was deployed by the EU to speak on their behalf. Maybe she's going rogue. Doesn't matter, because it sounded like they were reaching a certain level of agreement. Here's cut 10. Take a listen.
Prime Minister, you have said that the president's tariffs are wrong. Do you still believe that the United States is a reliable?
They always try to help.
It could only be her.
Should the European Union still believe that the United States is a reliable trade partner?
Well, I'm here exactly to work for make the West stronger. For I believe in the West unity, and I think simply we have to talk.
She believes
find
in
ourselves.
the president. She believes in the president.
Also, and find ourselves in the best middle way to grow together. That's why I'm here. So, if I wouldn't think it's a reliable partner, I wouldn't be here.
We have a very good relationship together, and as countries, we have a very good relationship.
To follow up, Mr. President, what if there is not a trade deal with the EU by the time of the end of your 90-day pause on reciprocal?
Oh, there'll be a trade deal, 100%. Oh, well, you think there won't be? Of course, there'll be a trade deal. Very much. They want to make one very, very much, and we're going to make a trade deal. I fully expect it, but it'll be a fair deal.
Are they on your priority list?
everybody's on my priority list.
There will be a trade deal, 100%, but it will be a fair deal. So there you go. Now, one other item of note here, unless you have anything on the tariffs that you want to jump in.
No, I was just going to say, I think this is exactly what we and folks who watch the economy should want to see out of the president. We want to see this posture of course there's going to be a deal. The whole point is to cut a deal. The whole point is not to have tariffs that make it so that it's very difficult for U.S. companies to do business. The point is to get to a good deal, and that's what I think we should expect to see out of President Trump.
That's right. And anybody who's watched Donald Trump, not just as president, but through his business life, read his books, for God's sake. This is what he always does. And the whole point is to make a deal. The guy loves making deals. One other point, so there were rumors earlier in the year, maybe late last year, that there was sort of a flirtation, if not actual, perhaps, rendezvous between Meloni and Elon Musk. Elon Musk went to Italy, met with her. They sort of got along. They looked very chummy, let's just say. And let's face it, Elon's got a bit of a reputation, right? I mean,
I guess so.
How many babies with how many women, right? Interestingly, yesterday, Musk nowhere to be seen. He was not in. I mean, Musk's been around a lot. Elon's been doing a ton. He's very interested in the Europe trade deal. I did not. Now, he may have been there, but I didn't see him captured in any pictures with Meloni at all during this visit.
Interesting. Well, I will say I don't know that I've seen him participate in any other state visits. He hasn't really leaned in on the foreign policy side of.
Yeah,
the
but if he's got the
work.
hots for her, you would think that he would show up. Say, hey.
I mean, that's a good point.
Me?
Gotta be around if you want to be in the game. You got to be around, I guess. But yeah, I would say I think maybe foreign policy isn't his top issue.
You're not wanting to go the gossip route with me. All right, fine.
No, I mostly because who knows? I mean, like I don't understand Elon's game with the ladies. I totally understand his game with the spreadsheets.
You don't? I do. He's got what every woman wants.
Oh, money, I
rocket.
guess. Oh, gotcha,
yeah,
gotcha.
You guess. It's 6:46.
WMAL, making sense of the vote because elections have consequences. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
And on this Good Friday, we have an interesting story coming out of the National Catholic Register. Some dioceses around the country reporting year-over-year increases of 30 to 70% of new converts. Anyone who's gone through the program to become a newly baptized Catholic, they will be baptized this Saturday night at the Easter Vigil Mass. Diocese of Fort Worth, 72%. Jumping converts. They're pointing to the COVID experience. They're pointing to a search for more meaning in life because the internet has become so central to so many young people's lives. Young people in general, people in their 20s, are converting in much larger numbers that the Catholic Church has seen in the past. And they're very traditional. They're very conservative, just like the new crop of priests as well. And just anecdotally, I can tell you from my own personal experience in my church and in my life, a lot of young Catholics take their faith very seriously, more seriously than I did in my 20s.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a good Protestant, so I don't know a ton about the Catholic Church, but I do think that there's a trend in sort of the younger generation, Gen Z particularly, towards some more conservative ideals, and I think church and the church community is part of that.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to talk to Raymond Arroyo about that. You know him from Fox News, Laura Ingraham, but also he's the managing editor at EWTN. That's where he started his media career, the Global Catholic Network. He's going to join us at 8:05 right now. It's 6:53.